There we are. Hey, welcome to Viking Preparedness. I am Pastor Joe Fox. So I just walked and talked for 38 minutes. And then I realized, come on, nobody wants to listen to your yap for 38 minutes. And I don't have the ability to edit video and take out the cogent points and stuff. So we're going to do this again. 38 minutes, oh my God, I need to get back to the house. I got stuff to do. But I'm here for you. All right, I want to talk about a couple things. I'm going to make it quicker because a 38-minute video I couldn't upload. It would take me forever. And I guess I started there. People said, hey, why don't you, some people said, why don't you post the videos you post to YouTube, also post them here so we don't have to look in two places. Time and effort. I do not live in a cubicle. I don't have high-speed internet. Everything I upload goes through this phone. The reason I'm reshooting this video is a 38-minute video would probably take me 2 days to upload because it goes through bad cell phone service, and that's how it uploads. Sometimes a page, you know, you just go from Drudge to click on a headline and go see what it says. That'll take 2 to 5 minutes for the page to come up. I mean, it's ridiculous, the kind of internet I put up with here. And so that's why. It's like, hey, if you're interested in seeing what I do on YouTube, which is not much, subscribe. What do people say? Subscribe, like, hit the bell icon, or I don't know. Do that. Earthquake. 6.4. They're saying that could be aftershocks. Some that are even bigger than what happened. I don't know how you call that an aftershock if it's bigger. Wouldn't it make the 6.4 a pre-shock? And I got to thinking about that, and I was talking to you all about that. Are you ready for an earthquake? I don't live in earthquake territory. Yeah, you do. Everybody lives in earthquake territory, and it says in the Bible, there shall be earthquakes in diverse places. I used to track earthquakes when I sat in front of 3 computer screens with super, what was it called, a T4 trunk line or something? Super high-speed internet. I had a little 3x5 card in my cubicle where I wrote down the magnitude, the location, and the date of every 7.0 and above. And my thought was, there's 3 7.0s in a 2-week period anywhere in the earth. That's worth noting. 6.4, meh. I love that word, meh. So are you ready for an earthquake? Because that can happen to where you are. Simple things. Take your bookcase. Let me figure this out a little bit. Take your bookcase and strap it, hook it to the wall. You can either put L-shaped brackets at the top of it into studs in the wall, or you can drill right through the bookcase into a stud to keep it from tipping over. That's a good thing to do even if you have little kids running around your house because they're little climbers, those little monkeys, and you don't want a kid climbing up on a bookcase and then making the whole thing tip over on them. So that's one thing. Strap your water heater, if it's gas or propane, to the wall. You just buy a piece of it looks like metal tape with holes in it. Screw one end to a stud, wrap it around, screw the other end to a stud, and it keeps your hot water heater in a big earthquake from falling off, breaking the piping with the gas flowing through it into your pilot light, breaking it off and squirting gas all through your house. That could then make your house explode. If you have a natural gas or propane coming into your house, you should know how to turn it off. You should have the tools readily at hand. They are non-sparking. When we actually had a natural gas line coming into our house, I bought one of those plastic wrenches. I don't know, it's about, I can't hold both my hands up. It's about a foot long or so, and it has a little slot in it made out of plastic so it won't spark, and you just turn the valve a quarter turn. You should have that. I taped mine to my natural gas little meter and just left it there when we moved. Didn't cost that much. They say if you turn your gas, because you know the 6.4 earthquake, I told my wife, we were driving at the time when it happened. We were many miles from home, and I said a 6.4, meh. They should be ready for bigger than that. It shouldn't be that much damage. But, you know, water pipes broke, gas pipes broke, that kind of thing. There's really not much you can do about that. And so they say if you turn off your gas, wait for a professional to turn it back on. That's because there's stupid people out there and they would blow themselves up, but it's not that difficult. And your expert really isn't. That comes to put it away, right? So do that. Something I did when I lived in earthquake country, and then I've just carried it over, is we kept a duffel bag full of clothing for every member of the family, to include adequate coats and footwear. We started in California keeping it in a shed out behind the house. So if the house falls down, we can still go get it. And then, why is that goat laying down like that? Oh, it's just stretching. And, you know, or if your house burns, God forbid, or something like that, it just gives you an alternative to get dressed. So you might want to do that. Keep your bug out bag not in your house if you can keep it in a detached structure. If that detached structure goes away, fire, tornado, flood, whatever, it's just gone with your stuff in it, you can reconstitute from the stuff in your house. But if your house goes away and you had your Bob in there, kind of hard to make things right? So there's something to think about. Keep stuff stored off site. The other thing, I am sure when the aftershocks are done, the powers that be there in that part of Cali, and perhaps at a federal level, will conduct an after-action review. What did we do right? What did we do needs improvement? Somebody takes notes, then they come up with a plan to sustain the things they did right and fix the things they did wrong. That requires honesty on the part of the participants, and AAR does. Where you screwed things up, you need to stand up and admit it. Yep, we could have done this better. And then resolve to fix it. If you do not criticize yourself, sounds like a communist self-criticism. Is that what they called it? Self-criticism sessions? Commies used to do that, probably still do for all I know. Self-critique sessions. If you don't criticize what you did wrong, if you don't address it, if you don't acknowledge it, if you don't own it, you'll never get better. So get over your big bad self. You're not perfect. You did things wrong. You did things you could have done better. Admit it, talk about it, and resolve to fix it. That's how you get better. And then leave it behind. Don't dwell on it. We've addressed that. We're going to fix it. So that's earthquake stuff. People on YouTube, they're so silly. You know, sour grapes, Aesop's fables, the fox is jumping after the big, juicy, delicious looking grapes, can't get there, walks away, goes, they're probably sour. That's sour grapes. People on YouTube, whenever I talk about, like this last time, although I brought it up, so less did. Whenever I talk about the Ozarks, they're like, yeah, but New Madrid, man, it's going to flatten you. No, it's not. It's going to affect Nashville a lot more than it affects the Ozarks. But I just think people don't want other people to be happy, and they're just so bitter and me, like that. The other thing I saw on my recent video on YouTube telling people come to the Ozarks, yeah, but all the nuclear power plants in the area that are going to melt down and cause problems and kill everybody in the Ozarks, those people aren't that smart either. All you got to do is look on a map. It's pretty easy to do. Look on a map. Do you think that I have identified every nuclear power plant and reactor in my greater area? And there you go, I got you turned away. And done the downwind calculations for them? I have. Do you think I'm concerned at all? I'm not. There's one nuclear power plant. It's not in the Ozarks. It's south of the Ozarks between Fort Smith and Little Rock. And if that thing melts down, it's not going to affect us at all. Not at all. There's nothing in surrounding areas, which would be basically south and west, right? So that would be like Oklahoma and southern portion of Arkansas. That's going to affect the Ozarks. Just not. Where did people come up with this stuff? It's like the people, my wife and I were laughing, these liberals, they were pitching the biggest fit and doing the most little news bits on 2 Abrams tanks and 2 Bradley fighting vehicles. that most people mistakenly call tanks, that were put on display for the do on the mall. And like, that's a big deal. There were even ridiculous people on the internet saying they were there to, fight protesters, kill the Pizzagate people, counter coup operations. They were props, guys. They were props. And it's totally not a big deal. When we were in the military, in the Army, the Armed Forces Day, it's a day, it's a holiday. Most of the posts we were assigned to had big things like fireworks displays and static displays is what they call it. They make the units come out and set stuff up for all the people to walk through, and it's kind of like Office Appreciation Day where the families get to come in and see what Daddy does. But there were always tanks and helicopters and cannons and all kinds of things out there, and little kids would just climb all over them. My son's been all over an Abrams tank and a Bradley, and my wife, I would walk around. I've been in all that stuff. And so I'm kind of bored and I'm feeling bad. I would talk to the soldiers who are assigned to be there and display this stuff. Tell them thanks for being there, and I feel where you're coming from. I know you'd rather be out here with your family doing this too. But they didn't really care. It's like, hey, little kids are climbing all over my thing. They can't hurt it. It's an Army vehicle. The kid can't hurt it. Although somewhere, somehow, some kid ejected himself out of a static jet fighter. That happened. And my son was in a huge crane, and he's climbing up in it because they let the kids do it. It's like a big plaything, So the kid's up there. My wife was talking to the soldier. I was deployed. I wasn't at this one. And she goes, hey, there's no way he can turn that thing on, is there? Because he's a smart kid. And he was like 7 or 8. And he's like, oh, no, ma'am, we've blah, blah, blah. And next thing you know, that thing starts going, the soldier's like, climbed up there and did something. My son was like, what? He's like, flip this, click this, lift this up. Cool, got it. But it's just not a thing. And they try to make a thing about it. I thought Trump did really well in his speech, Go America. Man, it is a speech that Democrats, liberals would never give, talking about how America is better than everyone else. I know we have non-American citizens here on Patreon. I'm going to get to that in a minute. But I think it was great how he's like, hey, America's better than everywhere else. We've got the finest military. We do. Yada, 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 yada. And then there was chest-thumping bravado. We own the skies. No one can touch us. Dun, 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 dun. You can't touch this. I think that's great. And quite frankly, I think Australians should speak, similarly about Oz. I think Scotland forever. I think Scots should talk about Scotland with as much pride and bravado. I think Rwandans should talk about Rwanda with as much pride and a little bit of bravado about what they can do, and blah, blah, blah. You should be proud of where you're from. You should be proud of where you're from. And if you're not, you should move. There, that's simple. So I got no problem with that. Yeah, but he talked about the Army taking over airports in 1814. Yeah, okay, he's giving a long speech, He obviously doesn't think that. It's just a speech. Liberals. They don't like America. They don't want to see us do well. I know people who talk trash about America, and I fully recognize our problems. Probably reality more than others. But let's face it, gang, this is where I live. So I want us to do well. I want my children, well, my children are now adults. I want my grandkids to be able to sleep safely in their beds at night, not worrying about, nukes coming over, tanks rolling down our streets. And by and large, Americans don't even have to consider tanks rolling down their streets. Enemy tanks. And no, the United States Army is not your enemy. You know what I mean, right? So there's that. Okay, I took a 38-minute video and I brought it down to about 14 minutes. This is much more doable. I asked a question though. What did I ask? See, videos are never as crisp the second time around, but man, you didn't want to sit through 38 minutes of this. I guess I'll start walking down towards my wife and then I'll sign off when I get there because I told her I'd walk down to the ducks with her. Earthquakes in diverse places, patriotic fervor. I'm not a USA join the crowd guy. But you know, I'm happy people are proud to be Americans. I also don't like that song. I know some of y'all love it. Most of y'all probably love it. They just overplayed it too much when it came out. So there's that. But I thought he did a great job on the Trump setting up the parade. It was very patriotic. I didn't hear him say a bad thing about Democrats the whole speech. I watched it live. It's good. That's the other thing. Why did he recall Pence? Recalled Pence from New Hampshire. I know I put the alert up there. What's going on there? I don't know. I don't claim to know. Something though. That ain't nothing. That's something. Things that make me go, Got any ideas? What you think it was about? Oh, that's the other thing. And some of y'all need to tighten up your shot group. I mentioned the site that I said don't refer to it, don't post it, and about 5 of you, no means no. It's a crap site. It's not worthy of this breath that I'm giving it. It's total bunk. And those of you who get breathless, and there's some of you here, so I'm giving you a mild rebuke because I want you to be better, who get all breathless about the latest hot, scary thing. Did you hear that the subs got in a confrontation? An American sub shot a Russian sub? That's crap. You would never know. You wouldn't know that happened. Not this fast. No way. That stuff doesn't leak out. The submarine force has even the lowest E1. I don't think there is an E1 on a submarine, but the lowest ranking sailor on a submarine has like a top secret clearance or a very high secret clearance, very cleared secret clearance. You would never hear that. And so these people who put this stuff out, they just put stuff out on the internet, and like somebody here wrote in all caps, you should never write in all caps, and said, you know, my Class A1 source inside told me. And then I just wrote, well, I guess you know what your source is worth now. Your source is somebody you know who tells you something. It's not something you heard somebody say on YouTube that's repeating from a discredited news organization that made it up. That's not a Class A source. It's not. Pastor Joe Fox is not your Class A source. Me telling you something, even me, and I will never intentionally lie to you, but you don't know me. You just take that, you put it in your bowl of things that you're collecting, and you make up your own mind about what's going on. But unless you have a guy or gal who is working on that submarine or at mission control for that submarine, you don't have a source for what went on. And that's not what happened. I'll leave you with this. Kind of, some of you like reading books. What is it called? I had a job one time. I cannot say too much more than that. But as part of that job, I was specifically forbidden from reading a book. Oh yeah, in America. You may not, have you read this book? I have not. You may not read it. It is available for sale everywhere. You may not read it, as long as you are in this position. That was not a suggestion. You know what I did as soon as I left that position when I was no longer working there? Bought that book and read it. And let me just say, I understand, and I'll leave it at that. The book is called Blind Man's Bluff. If you're at all interested in submarines and how things go, you might want to read it. I'll leave it at that. Okay, that's it. I got fun times coming up this weekend. Got a barbecue coming up, and Shabbat, and you know, all the things. You'll be seeing some, I think, interesting videos next week. If you didn't see Sister Kate, what's your channel, Sister Kate Shofar Mountain? Sister Kate Shofar Mountain's latest video, it shows Brother Cody taking apart one of our trees. Good job on that. We're at 20 minutes. And finally, that video that she shot, I haven't even told you this, it really motivated me to up my getting in shape plan. I shoot myself from here up. I don't see my belly sticking out, and I don't like it. I'm gonna get rid of it. And so today's workout is like the last one, 21, 15, 9 burpees, 50-pound kettlebell swings, and then I'm going to add to it 600-yard run, and then do, so you start out with 21 of each, 600-yard dash. I'm doing it, so you know, it's not like some 25-year-old sprinter's doing it. Then I'll do 15 of each 600-yard sprint, and then I'll do 9 of each 600 yards, and then once my heart comes back into my chest, I'll do 100 crunches slowly. No speed limit on those. Yeah, and my wife is doing a good job keeping me on the straight and narrow. Even though I slipped this morning, we're going to an event, and I said, why don't you just get some ice cream and bring it? We'll stick it in their freezer. You know, if you just resist the urge while you're shopping to buy that thing, then you don't have it. Well, when you live out here, it's not like you can just pop down to the store and get it, or a Amazon drone will bring it. All right, hey, I gotta go. I gotta help my wife a little bit. I've got stuff to do today. Y'all take care, keep your nose to the wind, and I will see you out there.